Cynthia did everything the system told her to do. She showed up early. She took the harder projects. She asked for feedback and acted on it. When her manager mentioned a skill gap in a one-on-one, she closed it within 90 days and came back with evidence. She was not the kind of employee who waited to be noticed. She was the kind who made herself impossible to overlook. She has been waiting for a promotion for 2 years. It has not come. Not because she is unqualified. Everyone in the room agrees she is qualified. Not because the timing has been wrong every single quarter, though that is what she has been told. The real reason is something nobody in that room will say directly, because the system that is holding Cynthia in place does not require anyone to say it out loud. It runs on incentives, not intentions. And the moment you understand how those incentives are structured, the waiting stops feeling like bad luck and starts feeling like what it actually is. A mechanism, operating exactly as designed. My name is Zara. Here is what the organizational chart does not show you. Every manager inside a mid to large company is operating inside 2 separate accountability structures simultaneously. The first is the one they will describe if you ask them. Develop the team. Build capability. Support growth. This is the language of every leadership competency framework ever written. It is also not what their performance is actually measured against. The second structure is quieter. It measures departmental output, delivery consistency, budget adherence, and headcount stability. These are the numbers that determine whether a manager is performing in the eyes of the organization above them. And inside that second structure, an ambitious employee is not an asset. An ambitious employee is a liability with a timeline attached. Mechanism 1. The replacement cost calculation. When Cynthia told her manager she wanted to be a senior analyst within 18 months, her manager did not hear a career goal. She heard a departure estimate. Because inside the second accountability structure, an employee who leaves for a better role costs their manager something concrete and immediate. A recruiting fee. A ramp-up period of 4 to 6 months where delivery slows. A gap in the schedule that requires explanation upward. The organization does not reward a manager for developing someone into a promotion. It charges them for the vacancy that promotion creates. So the rational response, the one the incentive structure quietly demands, is to manage the timeline, keep the employee performing. Delay the moment of departure as long as the employee's patience allows. Cynthia's ambition did not make her more valuable inside this system. It made her more expensive to keep and more urgent to contain. Mechanism 2. The quiet status threat. This one operates below the surface of the first, and it is rarely discussed because discussing it would require a degree of organizational honesty that most companies are structurally incapable of. Managers derive authority partly from being the most strategically capable person in their immediate unit. This is not written anywhere. It does not need to be. It is simply how hierarchy sustains itself. When a direct report signals clearly that they intend to surpass them, that they have mapped a timeline, that they are building towards something defined, it does not just create a retention risk. It creates a quiet disruption in the status architecture of the team. Cynthia's 18-month plan put her at senior analyst faster than it had taken her manager to reach that title. That arithmetic does not get discussed, it gets managed. Mechanism 3. The visibility ceiling. Once a manager has made the internal calculation that an employee represents a retention risk, the assignments shift, not dramatically, not in ways that could be named or grieved. The shift is subtle. The high-profile project goes to someone else. There is always a reasonable explanation. The cross-functional meeting that would put Cynthia in front of senior leadership gets attended by her manager instead. The work that builds organizational profiles quietly roots around her. What roots toward her is complexity without visibility. The legacy audit nobody else wanted. The documentation project that absorbs weeks and produces a report that gets filed and forgotten. Cynthia is not being punished. She is being parked. And the parking looks, from the inside, almost identical to patience. Mechanism 4. The language of indefinite delay. This is the mechanism that makes the system self-sustaining. Every quarter, when Cynthia raises the question of her advancement, she receives a response that is technically true and functionally designed to extend the timeline without making a commitment. The restructure is coming. The headcount is frozen. Titles are being reevaluated across the department. We want to make sure the timing is right. None of these statements are lies. All of them serve the same function. In most organizations, a promotion that is going to happen gets a date. It gets a budget code. it gets an approval chain someone can name. When the only answer is a vague encouragement attached to an undefined timeline, the promotion is not in progress. It is being managed away. Now meet Daniel. Daniel is not Cynthia. He is not an overperformer. He is a steady, capable, mid-level employee who has been at his company for 4 years and has received consistent positive feedback and no meaningful advancement. His situation looks different from the outside. From the inside, the mechanism is identical. Daniel has never announced a timeline. He has never pushed hard for a promotion. He shows up, delivers, and assumes the system will recognize his consistency in its own time. He is what workforce planners call a passive retainer, an employee whose ambition is low enough or whose communication of it is quiet enough that the system does not need to actively manage him. The system simply ignores him. He is not being contained, he is being overlooked, and inside the advancement architecture of most organizations, overlooked produces the same outcome as contained. Neither employee moves. The difference between Cynthia and Daniel is not their capability. It is not their work ethic. It is a single variable. Neither of them has made their value legible to the people who control the decision. Advancement in most organizations is not a performance event. It is a narration problem. Someone above your manager has to be telling your story in a room you are not in. If nobody is telling it because your manager is managing a replacement cost, or because your consistency has made you invisible, or because you have never given the layer above your manager a reason to know your name, the timeline you have in your head is optimistic, regardless of how good your work is. The organization does not advance the most capable employee. It advances the employee whose value is easiest to explain quickly in a room full of people with limited attention and competing priorities. Here is what the employees who move through this system actually do. First, they stop making their ambition a problem for their manager to solve. Announcing a promotion timeline hands your manager a replacement cost estimate and a retention risk to manage. It activates the containment response before you have built the leverage to withstand it. Keep the timeline private. Replace it in every conversation with a problem statement. Identify the single most painful recurring issue in your manager's week. Not the most visible project, not the one with the most upside for you, but the one that creates the most friction in their day, and own it completely. Fix it without fanfare. This repositions you from employee with an agenda to employee who reduces cost. Those are different conversations that produce different outcomes. Second, they build the narrative before they need it. Every significant outcome gets reduced to one sentence that travels without them in the room. Now, I improved the reporting process. That disappears. But I eliminated 2 days of manual work from the monthly close cycle, and the department lead knows it happened. Specificity travels. Generality evaporates. The sentence has to be short enough to be repeated accurately by someone who was not there and does not have time to explain context. Third, they build a legitimate presence one level above their manager before the promotion conversation begins. The ratification of any meaningful promotion happens above your direct manager. If that layer does not know your name before the decision is on the table, your manager's support only reaches so far. Find one honest reason to exist in that person's awareness. A cross-functional problem that touches their team, a question only they can answer, a project with visibility that extends upward. Exist in their peripheral vision before you need their vote. Cynthia stopped presenting timelines 14 months ago. She identified the one process in her department that her manager complained about most consistently and never had time to fix. She fixed it over 8 weeks. She documented the outcome in 2 sentences and included it in a project update that went to her manager's manager as routine correspondence. 6 weeks after that, her name came up in a conversation she was not in. Not because the system changed, because Cynthia had changed what she was solving for. She had stopped performing for the audience that could not promote her. She had started making herself legible to the one that could. The system does not punish ambition. It punishes ambition that has not yet learned to speak the language of the layer above it. Your manager is not your adversary. They are a rational actor inside a structure that rewards stability and charges for disruption. Understanding that does not make the system fair. It makes the system navigable. Stop waiting to be recognized. Start engineering the conditions under which recognition becomes the path of least resistance. The promotion does not follow performance, it follows positioning. And positioning is something you can control, starting with the next conversation you choose to have. If this channel is giving you language for things you have felt but never been able to name, subscribe right now. That is exactly what this channel exists to do. Every video. No motivation, no noise, no generic advice that works for no one specifically. Just the systems, named precisely, so you can move through them with clarity. Hit subscribe. Share this with someone who is performing well and wondering why nothing is moving. New content drops regularly, and what is coming next is something you will want to be here for. Subscribe to Zara versus the Workplace.